What is up, PCA? I'm back. I know it's Tuesday, not Monday, and I'm really sorry for missing Monday. But sometimes you got to take care of yourself. That's always the number one rule. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're in the mental space you need to be, so you can be present and work your best when you're actually present at work. So that's all I'll say about that. So remember last week on Friday, we left off, and the bee, once we use the power up. Oh, there's another bug right there. If I get 2 flowers at the same time, the score jumps from 9 to 11, so it never is exactly equal to 10, which means we skip the power up, which is kind of frustrating. That's going to be an annoying bug to fix. But anyway, now when we get the honey, it was supposed to last for 5 seconds, remember, but we're never, well, there, it worked. We slowed back down. Let's see. So it seems like it's working sometimes, but sometimes it's not working. So I want to teach a little bit about the debug console tools that we have here in code.org. So that's this little thing right here. So if we're confused, we don't know what values our variables have, we want to be able to see what happens. So we're going to put a watcher on our B speed. And this is going to let us see what the B speed is equal to as we're playing the game. And this is crucial because sometimes when you're debugging your code, you really don't know what's going on. So being able to write watch statements is really cool. And then there's a couple other cool things you can do something called a break statement. So I'm going to try a break statement right here, and let's see what happens. So you can see I just clicked on the line number, and what's going to happen is it's going to pause the code when we get to that point. So right now when I press space, you can see all of a sudden my code pauses, and my B speed is equal to 10, which is great. And now it's going to add 10 to it, we hope. So let's see what happens when I hit continue. B speed equals B speed plus 10. Okay, now that was weird. I had to hit it again to get up to 20. But then it went back down to 10. So let's try it without the debug statement, see what happens. So I hit 6, 8, 9, 10. I have my honey. I press it. Whoa, B speed went up to 40. Look at that. So I pressed space one time, and number of honey was greater than 0. And somehow it added to B speed. It went all the way from 10 to 40. It shouldn't be possible because number of honey was equal to 1. It should be. Let's put a watcher on num honey also. Let's see what happens. All right, let's reset, run, reset, run. All right, so B speed's at 10, num honey is at 0. That's good. Just you should be watching down here in the bottom right. Whoa, my num honey went up to 11 somehow. So that's where the bug is once we get that 10 with score equals 10, num honey equals num honey plus 1. Ah, look at that. If score is equal to 10, num honey equals num honey plus 1. And it added all the way. So I had 11 power-ups, even though it was only 1 visible on my screen. That's because I've only programmed 1 to be visible right now. It was adding 11 power-ups. So that has got to go. And why is it doing that? Does anyone know why? Post in the comments if you know why it was doing that, but I guess I'll just tell you. Remember that this gameplay function is called in the draw loop, which is an infinite loop. So it runs through this code a ton of cycles, like maybe 10, 15 cycles per frame. So even though it's only 1 frame, the gameplay loop is going over and over again. So it said, is score equal to 10? Yes, let's add 1. The next cycle through the loop, score was still equal to 10. It added another 1. So we can do some work here on these two things. But the easiest way to do this right now is if the score is equal to 10, we're just going to set num honey equal to 1. So that's going to, even if it keeps going through it, it'll give us our first power up, and honey.1 will become visible. I'm trying to think of how, so when I hit 2 flowers at once, it's pretty rare that it happens, but We saw it earlier in this video where if I went from 9 to 11, score was never equal to 10 for a frame. And then that gives us a bug also. So we got to think about a way to get our logic to work for that. But now we have a honey power up. It adds us up to 10. You can look at the bottom right now, and bee speed is 20. And then after 5 seconds, it goes back to 10. So the main issue was we were adding to num honey multiple times, and then we still had more than one honey. So our logic said if we press space and num honey was greater than 0, then we're going to keep adding 10. So now num honey is equal to 1, and then 1 minus 1 is 0. So it gets set to 0 after we press space. And the reason I'm subtracting 1 here is we want to make it so we can have multiple honeys. And we're going to have to change this logic a little later. But hopefully, so you can pause your code if you want to see what's happening, and you can add watchers to your variables. So hopefully this was a little tutorial on debugging your code, figuring out break statements. I didn't really go over these, but let's see. So if you go here, if you put a break statement, add an if statement, then you can either step over and skip the whole if statement or step in and go inside the if statement. So that's what these buttons do. Debug sprites, that turns, remember, that turns the hitboxes on if you have debug sprites on. And so the watchers are really going to be really useful when you're programming your own games, because this lets you see what the computer is thinking. Sometimes we think the computer is thinking one thing, and it actually has a whole different idea of what's going on. So these watch statements to watch your variables are going to be crucial for debugging your game. So whenever you have a bug, you're unsure what's happening, add a watcher. So that'll be it for this episode. Next episode, we're going to make it so that we can have 3 honey power-ups, max, I think. So every, 50 points, we'll add 1 to our honey, and we're going to have to do some fun logic to get that working. But that's it for today, and I will talk to you soon.